With Dispatch taking the internet by storm, I thought it would be pretty fun to rank the Z team from weakest to strongest. I'm going to split this video up into tiers, the idea being that the tiers are more definitive, with the characters inside said tiers being more interchangeable, as more often than not, there's not really a clear way to determine if one character would be able to beat the other, with the two probably just being close enough in strength to where it's a conversation. This is also your very clear spoiler warning if you are planning on playing through the game of Dispatch, or maybe you just want to watch it and haven't gotten around to it. This video is not for you. There will be spoilers. Go do what you got to do and then come back. Without further ado, let's get straight into the discussion. For the first tier, we have Peak Human. This tier is about what you'd expect from a Peak Human tier, in that these are characters who are just humans with extra abilities and no noticeable physical buffs. Now, in this first tier, I have Waterboy. Waterboy is kind of a sleeper. I just don't think he's so much stronger that the other members in this tier wouldn't be able to fight him in their own right. His abilities range from Hydro Breath, which is him just spitting water, Bodily Liquid Generation, with it also being hinted that he has above human strength, with him being able to last in an arm wrestling match with Punch Up for about 4 seconds. Punch Up is very impressive since he's actually noted to have the strength of 10 men, which we'll talk about later on. We do see feats wise in the game, he's able to propel himself up into the air and fling himself at multiple Red Ring members, knocking them out, but it doesn't really stand out in the feat department. But based on what we see from other characters in the Peak Human tier, I don't think this would be beyond what they're capable of combating. Next up, we have Invisigirl. This isn't really a case of Invisigirl being weak, more so everybody above her is just super powered, and even the other character in this tier being above her, while being debatable, does make a lot more sense when you look at the feats. We see Invisigirl has a couple great showings from the game, as she was able to fight Lightning Struck on multiple occasions, beating him in their rematch, who is a high-tech powered thug wielding a pair of electricity blasting arm cannons, even being able to disarm one during their fight. Invisigirl's main abilities are invisibility and hand-to-hand combat. The time frame for her being invisible is based on her holding her breath. When doing so, she turns not only herself but anything she is wearing invisible. The only downside being Invisigirl is asthmatic, which manifests with her having a shortness of breath in most fights she participates in, needing her inhaler. Furthermore, she's extremely adept at hand-to-hand combat, showcased in her fights with Lightning Struck, along with this being noted on her database file. She also showcases great speed and reaction time, being able to avoid Lightning Struck's blast. It's also being showcased with her being able to dodge repeated strikes from Malevola in their confrontation after the fact when the villains were trying to sabotage one another. This all in line with Invisigirl's hand-to-hand skills being quite superb, again, with their speed and reactions being up to par. She's also physically strong enough to lift Malevola's greatsword and even use it to cut the arms off the Red Ring member with the giant mechanized arms and really skinny like twig arms. You know, that funny guy, he doesn't really have an official name, but it's much more likely she has hit a joint area or weak point of the arm, considering the Red Ring member in question was able to block Malevola's strikes earlier on in the armored area. The Team Z member who I have above Invisigirl and at the top of the Peak Human tier is Prism. Prism has kind of a stacked ability list that kind of flies under the radar in this game. Her abilities are listed as photokinesis, photoionization, and holographic manipulation, the last ability manifesting in her being able to create illusions. Honestly, I actually had Invisigirl over Prism initially, but after reviewing a lot of her feats, Prism is just way too crazy. Photokinesis in fiction is typically the superpower of manipulating or controlling light with the mind. Photoionization being somewhat similar and usually manifests with the character in question creating energy blast. Prism's most impressive feats, in my opinion, come from her confrontation against Shroud, where she's able to create light constructs, such as projectiles she actively fires on Shroud, or defensively she has insane stock, actually being able to create barriers that are strong enough to withstand blasts from Shroud's mech, with her being able to create platforms that Mandy can drive on, or prisms that Blind Blazer can shoot beams into to reflect back on Shroud's mech. She also has the ability to blind the opponent, which she does so in the bar scene with the person who got blinded saying, "You blinded me temporarily," and she blessed our ears with the glorious line, "Bitch, you're blind forever." Honestly, my big issue with Prism is that she's just more so ability heavy, and we don't have more physical feats for her to say she would scale to those other Team Z members. And like we established with Invisigirl, a lot of the other Team Z member fights are more so matchup based, especially with these tiers. So I think it is fair to say, more so than Waterboy, that Invisigirl could take a W against Prism, especially based on the fact that, again, a lot of these are matchup heavy. On to the next tier. For the next tier, we have Street tier. In this tier, we have Malevola, who is half demon and wields a magic sword. No, that's not me. Those are Blonde Blazer's words exactly. With demon physiology, Malevola is strong stronger, faster, and tougher compared to the baseline human, which already sets her up in good standing compared to the rest of the human tier, which is consistent based on her feats in the game. We see with her magic sword, her strikes are able to slice through concrete and solid steel, also being able to directly pierce the likes of Shroud's mech, meaning it's likely too strong for a lot of characters to outright tank. On top of this, Malevola is able to create portals and has niche abilities such as the ability of life force absorption, which we haven't really seen too much in action, at least during the game, outside of course gameplay mechanics. This isn't really a case of her being weak, more so everybody else just kind of gets crazier and crazier feats, so there's not really a way to argue she is much higher up. I assure you, I am hurting more than anybody else. This was my closet romance option that I wanted and never came to be. The only other point for Malevola, and I do think you could use this argument to say she would be able to do this against anybody in street tier, is that she was able to send one of Shroud's legs into a portal and then close the portal, which, assuming she's able to pull it off, would be effective on everybody on this list. Let's look at who's actually above her to make some more sense of this. Next up, we have Flambe, whose abilities range from pyrokinesis, flame invulnerability, and pyro propulsion. To sum it up, he's the Human Torch. He's able to light himself on fire, fly around, and launch giant blasts of fire. We actually see that Flambe has an amazing performance against Robert in the Mecha Man suit, being able to physically move the Mecha Man suit with his hits and tank punches from the mech, only coming out with blood coming off of his lip. And while you could make a case Malevola would perform similarly, we just don't have the feats to back that up outside of just saying, yeah, she could possibly cut through the Mecha Man suit based on feats of, for example, being able to cut through Shroud's robot. And while he isn't able to damage Shroud's robot in the final fight, I don't consider this that much of an anti-feat since the robot is very durable, especially in reference to energy blasts such as Blonde Blazer, who also couldn't damage the mech with her energy blast. Flambe just has higher performances and should be ranked a bit higher on the street tier. Next up, we actually have a three-way split. Yeah, this sounds kind of weird, but is going to make a lot more sense once we get into the actual discussion between Punch Up, Coupe, and Sonar. This being obviously Sonar in his bat form. Starting off, Sonar in his bat form is relatively featless outside of the enhancements that Shroud gave him, and the idea being that with enhancements from Shroud, both Sonar and Coupe fill a similar narrative role of being able to actually fight the likes of Blonde Blazer by themselves, and is too much of a match for the team members on their own generally. Granted, this obviously isn't them in their regular abilities, more so the two with a similar amp do perform similarly in the main storyline, meaning they're likely pretty close. We really don't have that many feats for Sonar outside of this, so this is the best metric you can give him. Let's talk about all of these characters together. Punch Up is this high since in his bio it remarks that he possesses the strength of 10 men and the height of 1. In lore, this is more so the result of a deal he made with a sorceress, and we just see this in little tidbits during the game even when he's not punching people's dicks, such as when he's hitting a sandbag and the sandbag completely blows open, Captain America style on the other side. On top of this, in his database it's noted that he has pain immunity. This isn't to say he doesn't take damage, but just that he doesn't really feel pain. His durability is probably one of his higher stocks, as it's put on full display in one of the Dispatch comics where Coupe is actually assigned an assassination job where she has to take down Punch Up. Now, in this assassination attempt, he actually takes no damage once Coupe actually tries to stab him with one of her daggers. Keep in mind, this is an assassination attempt and extremely relevant since she did have killing intent here. Furthermore, this also operates to upscale Coupe, as she actually can survive and tank hits from this same Punch Up, taking no real damage from it as a result. It may be more likely that Punch Up was holding back in this instance, since we actually see later on Coupe can cut herself with her daggers, but this may get into blunt force trauma versus actually getting cut with something, which are two entirely different things. Coupe's blades have similar feats to Malevola, where they're capable of piercing Shroud's mech, so even by the standards of her weaponry, she actually does have good placement here. I want to make it clear though, I do have Punch Up at the top of these three, and more so lean to him being higher up on this tier. Do not underestimate him just because he was punching packs all the time. We actually see in the fight with Shroud, he pinballs himself to knock over all of Shroud's legs and actually slams the mech down with his raw physicals. The only person who does something remotely similar is Phenomenon, so Punch Up legitimately does have it like that. Above these two, I would have Golem, who is a morphological being and has multiple abilities such as Earth Mimicry, Regenerative Healing, Fire Resistance, which we see blatantly as he takes no damage from Flambe's his Fire Blast, with his ability to manipulate the earth revealing itself in a couple different ways. One being he's able to pin the arm of the Red Ring member with the really strong mechanical arms that have pretty good feats, weirdly enough, throughout the show, to the wall during the bar fight, or is able to create much larger constructs as we see in the fight against Shroud's robot. More importantly, and weirdly enough, he actually has one of the better raw strength feats, actually being able to injure Punch Up, as like we disclosed earlier, Punch Up is extremely durable, yet when Golem actually hits him hard enough, he hits him with enough force that basic glass actually does pierce his enhanced durability, meaning in terms of raw strength, he's likely far stronger than the members below him off of the Punch Up durability metric. He's kind of in a jack of all trades kind of position and does have some of the better feats among the Team Z members, which places him at the top of this tier, at least for me, based on the feats we see in the game. The last tier we have Man of Steel, and as you can imagine, there's only really one character in this tier. At the number 1 slot, we have Phenomaman, which should be pretty straightforward, as he was planning to fly straight into the sun, absorb the energy directly from it, which in turn would cast Earth into infinite darkness via absorbing all of the sun's energy. This is just a star level feat and is pretty blatant for Phenomaman being at the top of the group. This dude's basically Superman. I also think from a raw strength standpoint, he outperforms the other Team Z members in his fight against Shroud, being able to launch the entirety of Shroud's mech on his lonesome into the air. Shouldn't be too much debate for Phenomaman at number 1. I mean, this guy was really just sipping beer on the moon, if we're being honest. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below if you agree, disagree, why. Like and subscribe if you're new here. This video is just done out of a love for Dispatch and more of a fun discussion. I'm curious who you guys would have, where, and why, and yeah, catch you guys next time. Bye bye.